Okay, let's get started. Welcome to Moment of Clarity. Welcome to the stage four of the American Empire. It's like cancer. We're in stage four. That means it's getting really good, getting really exciting. Things are getting fun now. Let's talk about the FBI. Let's talk about the latest McCarthyism, the new Cold War we're in the middle of. There's a new accusation out there, and it goes to feed in to all of the neo-McCarthyism that's swirling around. The let's red bait everyone, let's accuse everyone of being connected to Russia, being a Kremlin agent, and therefore nothing they say matters. And your FBI needs to do this because the state, the ruling elite, largely, it's obviously coming less from the Republican side, but this latest thing is from Pompeo's, State Department, I believe, as well. So it's not just the Democrats, but they're perhaps the ones pushing this more. The ridiculous Russiagate that has now collapsed, that we now know involved, some fucking clickbait farms putting up photos of Jesus arm wrestling Satan, and somehow that is what made people vote for Trump. But they have their latest one. And the Gray Zone does a great job of breaking this down and revealing how ridiculous it is, what a sham it is, how soft the evidence is, if you can even call it evidence. And so I wanted to go through these articles. I'm going to pull them up on the screen in a minute. I also am going to go through some of the other things I have going on my screen. You'll get to see my screen, and don't worry, I'll blur out the porn a little bit. I think I won't show you. I won't show you the worst stuff on the screen. This is because I'm going to show you various tabs. This is the part where I accidentally pull up the tab that shows that I'm watch Teletubbies during the day at work. So hopefully you'll ignore that part. So let's get to the Gray Zone article as to the latest FBI new Cold War, Russia's gonna get you accusations, which I fucking love. This is by Ben Norton. Ben Norton, great journalist. You should look him up if you don't know him. Serious questions remain about the shady peace data website blamed on Russian trolls. Now, for those of you who don't know this, the U.S. government intelligence agencies have initiated a series of smear campaigns relying on false innuendo to suggest independent left-wing American media outlets are connected to Russia. Now, they've been doing that for years. That's been going on for years, right? Not just me, but, all kinds of independent and left-wing voices have been accused of being connected to Russia, part of Russia, everything from Bernie Sanders, Jill Stein, all these outlets, basically any outlet that is questioning the U.S. government take on things, the U.S. Empire's view of the way to see the world. If you go against that propaganda, you question that propaganda, then you are clearly a tool of Russia. You couldn't possibly be someone who just wants peace, who just wants us to stop blowing people up around the world. Ben Norton first talks about how this is now also being used as they're doing false flags. And in fact, they were caught in 2018, the U.S. government analysts hired by the Senate Intelligence Committee to produce reports on Russian interference. Those same people were involved in a false flag operation. This was revealed in the New York Times. So this is not, this isn't coming from me. It's not even coming just from the Gray Zone. This is fucking New York Times. Of course, they tried to, bury it in the back or whatever. But the people with the report saying, here's how you know Russia's involved, they were also involved in a false flag against, I think it was Roy Moore or someone, one of these Senate campaigns down south, I think, or governor campaign, I can't quite remember. But anyway, they basically admitted, or they were forced to admit, that they had manufactured all these Russian bots to follow the opposition candidate so that they could say Russia was trying to get this Republican pedophile elected. So they had manufactured it entirely. And it became so evident and so obvious that even the New York Times reported on it. Okay, so let's see. At the center of this intrigue, suspicious website called Peace Data. Now, I don't know about you, but I've never heard of Peace Data. But that shows how desperate the FBI is to reveal these things when they're, got these accusations against websites you never heard of. But let's just say you have heard of it, okay? The FBI and a Pentagon-backed private intelligence firm called Graphica claim the page is a Russian government vehicle for pushing disinformation in English but there's no tangible evidence. It's only a statement posted in comically broken English that sounds much more like someone trying to impersonate a Russian than sophisticated Kremlin operatives. Peace data was completely unknown before it was identified by the FBI as the heart of a supposed Russian disinformation scheme. The website has next to no following, just 197 likes on Facebook, and negligible web traffic. Okay, so not only is it nearly unheard of, but at the top of the article, they have a photo from Peace Data. And here are the types of articles that Peace Data has on there. Mainstream international media turns a blind eye to suffering in Yemen. The prison system around the world needs reform. It has no place in democratic nations in current states. Will Trump pardon Edward Snowden? Overfunding of U.S. military is driving climate change and white supremacist culture of war crimes. So many of these articles, by the way, are just reposted from other sites that you and I respect, like The Gray Zone, like Jacobin, and some others. So really, what is so horrible about this site? It reposts articles that sound super legit. That's what the FBI is like. We got you. So he goes on to say most of whose reporting was lifted by Peace Data from a veritable who's who of independent media outlets that the U.S. government would not be favorably disposed to. They comprise the very few platforms that provide an alternative, factual, and highly critical perspective on U.S. foreign policy. Among them is this outlet, The Gray Zone. So this is the FBI probably created this site. Now, I don't have any evidence of that, but let's say even if they didn't create this site. This is a site that shows you a bunch of very important articles that are critical of U.S. foreign policy. And the U.S. is like, well, that can't be legit. Well, let's malign all of these legitimate sources like the Gray Zone, like other outlets, Jacobin, various other outlets that are pushing peace, that are questioning U.S. empire. Let's malign them all by saying, look, this is Kremlin. This is Russia. Russia did this. Russia's trying to get you to read the Gray Zone. And so they do this, guilt by association that can then tarnish any independent media that is outside of what is the allowable corporate thought, right? What you see on CNN, what you see on Fox News, that's allowable corporate thought. Anything outside of that has to be maligned and suppressed and pushed back. And it's not been enough. They have maligned us and suppressed us on all of the social media, big social tech platforms, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Google, search results, Gmail. But that hasn't been enough to truly stop people from reading the Gray Zone, to truly stop people like you from watching this video. So the next step is to pretend they have some sort of connection to the Kremlin or whatever, that the Gray Zone has some sort of connection to the Kremlin, simply because this random site no one's ever heard of that has 197 likes on Facebook is a Russian platform. Now, even if it were, which it seems quite obvious it's not, even if it were, that doesn't make the Gray Zone some sort of Russian disinformation campaign. In fact, the Gray Zone is a highly legitimate, highly well-researched website. But they do this guilt by association garbage in order to get you to believe crap like that. Also, he says, Facebook, Twitter, and major Western corporate media outlets eagerly bit at FBI's claim, amplifying the unsubstantiated narrative that Peace Data was part of a dangerous Kremlin operation to help Donald Trump win the U.S. presidential election by turning progressives away from the Democratic Party and Joe Biden. The narrative was contradicted in several glaring ways. For one, a mere 5% of Peace Data's total articles were about the U.S. election. 5%, representing just about 35 posts on a page that has 197 Facebook likes. And here you get to the people that actually write for Peace Data. Now, remember I mentioned earlier, most of the Peace Data articles are just stolen from other sources. But there are, I guess, some people that write for Peace Data. Those allegedly recruited by Peace Data to write as freelancers were highly suspect as well. The most high-profile former contributor to the website, who was interviewed by the New York Times after the supposed Russian active measure was exposed, happens to be an actor for hire who supports Joe Biden, has admitted to severe mental illness, and has previously collaborated with the FBI. He publicly claims to be a black man trapped in a white man's body and writes about his visions of aliens. I'm just going to let that sit there for a minute. This site, the people they have actually write for the site, that's not articles stolen from other sites, is a FBI collaborator who thinks he's a black man trapped in a white man's body. If this doesn't scream FBI fucking FBI, scam, FBI created this website so that they could malign all independent, anti-war, anti-Wall Street exploitation, two-party corporate shit show websites. I don't know what it is. This just seems like it must be created by the FBI or other state actors to make you think Russia created the gray zone or something like that. Anyway, even if that's not the case, I will admit I have no evidence of that. It's just a suspicion. But even if that's not the case, this is a site that's seen by nobody that mainly reposts great independent articles and occasionally has someone write for them who is an alien-obsessed guy who thinks he's a black man in a white man's body. How would you even know that? I would like to talk to that guy. What exactly drove you to think, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a black guy in me? At what point did you, Was it because you were pulled over a lot by the cops and you were like, I just don't seem white? The cops keep pulling me over. There's something wrong here. Anyway, amazing. But also he's an FBI collaborator. He's an FBI stooge. I mean, this guy is basically working for the FBI. So this seems very much like an FBI set up this website. So and this serves another purpose beyond just its ability to trash those websites that are actually giving you the truth. It also serves to continue the whole McCarthyism, red baiting, new Cold War paradigm, talking points. I mean, at this point, it's become such a massive just industry to say all these, Russia's influencing the election, anything Trump, any votes Trump gets must be coming from Russia. It's become such a massive industry that they need to keep it going. They can't give up on it. If they were to because we saw Russiagate fall apart, right? I think anybody, if you're watching this, you're smart enough to know how ridiculously it fell apart. And look, I hate Donald Trump. I think he's a fucking sociopath, just like I think Joe Biden is. But Russiagate was a shit show that fell apart. It was largely just an attempt to try and say that Donald Trump's win wasn't legit, when of course his win was legit, except for all of the purged voters. But the Democrats shot themselves in their own foot by rigging their own primaries. So if you're going to rig elections, then motherfuckers, you shouldn't be surprised when the election's rigged against you as well. So they created this whole Russia thing. They needed a new Cold War. They also need a new boogeyman, right? So you all get in line, because fear is the main way to get Americans to think that nationalism is what really controls us. At the end of the day, you have to be nationalistic. It has to be all about America. You can't actually look across a border, an imaginary border, and say, I might have a lot in common with the workers of, let's say, Spain or France or Germany or the average people in Canada or Mexico. That is very dangerous to the ruling elite. So they want you to look at them and say, I am different from them. I am a different entity. I live in this country. They're in that country. I must hate them. I must have this guttural nationalism that rules over every decision I make, that is so influential to who I am, and my ego and my everything is wrapped up in it. My soul is defined. You motherfucking censor lights. God. And it interrupted my rant too. I blame the FBI for the sensor lights. I'm pretty sure, because when I put those sensor lights in, I was pretty sure the guy he had an FBI cap on. So I'm pretty sure they were like, we'll just drive him insane by turning off his lights every once in a while. It's like a reverse gaslighting. You know, it's kind of gas de-lighting without the gas. I mean, they do have gas, but that wasn't FBI. That could have been the FBI. Now that I think about it. Anyway, where the fuck was I? Oh, yeah. So they need this nationalism, right? They need this. You got to fear the great other. Because if you don't fear the great other, whether it's Russia, Iran, terrorists in general, Al-Qaeda, China, something's going to get you, right? Something over there, out there, that you can't see, that you can't walk up to and go, this isn't really what I thought it was, that you can't really investigate, that you can't really get involved in, that you can't see each day on the train, on the metro, on the bus. They need a great other that is too far away for you to actually understand it. And they need it. They need you to be afraid of it so that you fucking get in line and you obey. And that is how it's how the systems work for a long time. And when they run out of a great other, they create a new one, right? So they really didn't have one in the 90s. And it got very bad for them. Military spending in the U.S. actually went down for a change during the 90s. It actually decreased. And they needed a new great other, a great object to fear, and it became terrorists. And now we're into Russia and China and Iran. We're back with that again, right? They're gonna fucking get you, man. They're under you. They're under your desk right now. They're in your pants. They're in your fucking pants. So they need that great other for you to be afraid and stay in line. And so this serves that as well for the FBI. And by the way, I think this actually fits very much with the FBI. It's been proven, you can look up articles, that 90, because they have to give their numbers or whatever, that 90-some%, I think it's actually 97% of FBI arrests and charges against terrorists within the U.S. or terrorist plotting or whatever, extremists, 97% is connected to the FBI. It is either a form of entrapment, or it's FBI collaborators, or it's just FBI fucking agents working with somebody. But basically, the FBI finds largely mentally ill people that are really fucking out of it online, and they pressure them or help them to create some sort of terrorist plot, and then they swoop in and arrest them for going along with it. And that is most of the arrests that the FBI does. I mean, you go look at the numbers. It's fucking incredible. So this is very similar, right? If the FBI were to either create or find a website like Peace Data and say, look, we found them, the Russian agents, it goes to legitimize the entire story that Russia's trying to get you and that they're lying to you and all this shit. So yet again, with this story, we see, I mean, honestly, how many of you are afraid of the articles that the guy writes who thinks he's a black man in a white man's body and sees a lot of aliens? Now, were the aliens involved with putting the black man inside of you? Or is that separate things? Or are these the same? Or did the aliens come up to you as a black man and wrap you in a white skin? So the aliens put a white guy on the outer side of you, and you were the black man initially. I have a lot of questions for this guy. If anyone can find this guy and get him over email, just let me know, because I'd like to talk to him about how exactly this alien black-white transformation works. Okay, so this is from LA Progressive, not the LA Times. The LA Times, by the way, the LA Times used to have a lot of good articles that were contradicting the standard government lies and stuff, but the LA Times has largely now been captured by the billionaires and the oligarchs. It was bought out, I think, maybe entirely or largely, and now the LA Times is falling in line with what is acceptable, U.S. empire talking points. For the most part, that doesn't mean you can't find an article here and there, but they used to do a lot of good stuff. LA Progressive is different. LA Progressive does a lot of good articles. So this is about how the discredited Russian bounty story lives on. The military says they can't find evidence to support it, yet the New York Times and others have not repudiated the reports or issued retractions. So for those of you who don't remember, I mean, these stories fall away so quickly that it's possible you're already starting to forget this. But the Russian bounty story was this it was just a few weeks ago. So the hilarious story that the U.S. And I covered it at the time, but that the U.S. That Russia is paying the Taliban to shoot at American troops or something, which the Taliban's been fighting us for 18, 20 years. Like, they don't need to be paid to shoot at American troops. On top of that, the U.S., it has been proven, and again, you can go read the articles, the U.S. pays the Taliban. I don't know if we still are, but for a long time, for many years, we were paying the Taliban to let our trucks through so we could fight the Taliban. Because on these mountain pass roads in Afghanistan, we actually needed the Taliban's help to get through. Otherwise, they could just attack us and we fucking couldn't go fight them. So literally, we would bribe certain elements of the Taliban so we could go fight the Taliban. That is how bizarre and insane this fucking Kafka-esque war in the middle of nowhere is. Not to insult Afghanistan. I'm sure to you it's not the middle of nowhere. I just meant for your average American. It's the middle of nowhere. But so we've been paying the Taliban for years. That's nothing new. And then we said, the Russians they're paying to shoot U.S. troops. Oh my God. And you can go watch the frothing at the mouth, fucking blood oozing out the ears. Rachel Maddow reports about this, about how this is horrifying. And I think Lawrence O'Donnell showed like images of dead U.S. troops on his screen, or someone on MSNBC, and said, this is who Russia's been killing. And the people they were showing on the screen had no connection to this story whatsoever. They were just U.S. troops that had been killed. And so they just put them on the screen and go, look at what Russia's done. Oh, my God. And, of course, those stories happened right as Trump said he was going to withdraw 10,000 troops from Germany, and U.S. troops, and thousands of other troops from Afghanistan. And immediately this Russian bounty story comes out. We got to keep the troops out there. So he didn't withdraw the troops because this came out. And also it's helping to stop the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which Russia wants with Germany. So they're trying to get in the way. The U.S. is, and actually Mike Pompeo has said that they will do anything to stop that oil pipeline. So it makes sense that they would put out this horse shit. But it's just fallen apart. The story has fallen apart. It was anonymous sources to begin with. No evidence was brought forward. Russia, of course, said it wasn't true, but they've just given nothing that shows that this actually went on. And so this article is a good LA progressive article on just how thoroughly the Russian bounty story has collapsed. Yet the media continues to act like this existed. So they did all this reporting on how it happened, but now they're not doing any reporting on how it's all collapsed. So, I mean, they like to do that. They like to say, oh my God, look at this thing. And then a week later, it all collapses, and they never mention it. Now, I'm sure the New York Times has had little retractions or little things here or there, but they know no one's going to see those. That's useful for them. So they know no one's going to see it. They don't even worry about it, that people will actually know that the Russian bounty story has collapsed. And in fact, Joe Biden in the last debates said that he said to Trump, he said, you haven't even talked about the Russian bounty story. You don't stand up to Putin after he's paying Taliban to shoot U.S. troops. So Biden is continuing to quote from this completely discredited story as if it's true. And I don't know how much he knows, whether he's given a shit to read the follow-ups to see how it's collapsed, but it doesn't matter. It's useful to him. It's useful to all of them. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed all of this moment of clarity. Please share it with people. We're heavily suppressed, so any way you can help get it out there. And click subscribe. Click the bell next to the subscribe button. That's all at youtube.com/moment of clarity. And check out my podcasts, Common Censored and Government Secrets. Okay, keep fighting.